Hey everybody, it's another Wednesday, so it's time for story time again. So this one is in the same series as the one I read you last time. This is Circumference and the Isle of Immeter. So I got a bunch more of these ordered from Bookmarks, and they're on their way. So I have enough that we can keep doing this all every Wednesday until the end of the semester. So at least we can have story time once a week, even if I can't see you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So, Circumference and the Isle of Immeter. Young Purr sat with her uncle and aunts Circumference and Lady Di of Ammeter. Her cousin Radius was teaching her the game of inners and edges. A player makes a shape out of tiles, calling out the number of squares used, explained Radius. The first person to correctly count all the outside edges keeps those pieces. Circumference arranged his tiles into a square. Inners are 9, he said. 12 edges, counted Purr, gathering up her winnings. Lady Di made one long row of tiles. Inners again are 9, she said. And edges are 20, exclaimed Purr. I love this game. It belonged to Countess Ariana, said Circumference. She used to live on the Isle of Immeter, just off the coast. A sea serpent is said to guard the place, so now no one dares to go there. That evening, Purr played the game by herself. She made several shapes with the tiles, thinking about the edges. With squares, I can just count one side and multiply by 4. For rectangles, I can add one long side and one short side together, then double it. Purr put the pieces away, noticing a picture of Immeter's castle and tiny words painted on the inside of the box. The secret of Immeter is the name of the game. Open where inside and edges are the same. That night she dreamed about the little island and the mysterious message. Purr woke up early the next morning, determined to visit the castle and discover its secret. She tiptoed into the kitchen, but Radius was already there. You're up early, he remarked. I'm going to sail out and explore the island, Purr answered. Would you like to come along? Why not, said Radius, stuffing an orange into his pocket. That sea serpent is probably just a myth. Radius and Purr hurried down to the dock. They boarded a small sailboat and headed for Immeter. We'll be there in no time with this breeze, said Radius. When they reached the island, they walked around the castle. They counted 7 walled-in doorways. These doorways remind me of a giant inners and edges game, said Purr. This one has 14 edges. Radius nodded and said, and 12 inners. That was fast, said Purr. I multiplied the 4 stones down the side by the 3 stones across the top, answered Radius. It's quicker than counting each one. At the 5th doorway, Radius said, inners are 16. Edges are also 16, said Purr. The inside and the outside are the same number, remarked Radius. The inners and edges box said, open where inside and edges are the same, exclaimed Purr. Could this be the entrance? She tapped on a stone and the door rumbled open. The 2 cousins stepped inside just as large waves began crashing against the castle walls. Purr and Radius found themselves in a hall with a grand stairway. They noticed a large A in the middle of the 4. That A must stand for Ariana, said Purr. And look, there's a rhyme around the letter. Count half as many inside as out. This unlocks the towers without a doubt. Count what? Radius asked, gazing around the empty hall. How about these key shapes? Answered Purr, looking at the floor. Keys unlock towers. Suddenly, a window high above them shattered. In snaked the head of a sea serpent. Its eyes glowed green gold, and its scales shimmered like jewels. Quick, let's start counting, Purr cried as the creature howled at them. She pointed to the first key shape. 28 edges. 15 inners, said Radius. That's not half as many inside as out. They tried another one. 22 edges, cried Purr. But only 10 inners, answered Radius. Then Purr found one with 24 outside edges. There are 12 squares inside. That equals half the edges, cheered Radius. This is the one. One of the tiles was loose. Radius lifted up and saw a key. He grabbed it and they ran to the nearest tower. They unlocked the door, ran inside, and slammed it shut. Whew, We're safe for now, gasped Per. Radius looked at the ribbon tied to the key. There are words on this. Where 200 floor squares fit inside, Immeter's secret does reside. How can square tiles fit on the floor of a round room? Wondered Per. Radius shrugged. Right now I'm too hungry to think. He pulled the orange out of his pocket. He cut the fruit and gave part to Per. This slice is round like the tower floor, she said. She cut the piece into 2 halves. Then she stretched the halves out and fit them together. There! Now the circle has been reshaped into a rectangle. A lumpy bumpy rectangle, observed Radius. So Per cut the 8 orange segments equally into 16 smaller ones. These she rearranged into a smoother rectangle. Much better, she said. And we already know to figure out the inside of this shape. Right, said Radius. It's just like with the castle doorways. You multiply one long side by one short side. Halfway around the orange slice is the same as the long side, observed Per. And the length of an orange segment is about the same as the short side. So we just multiply the two measurements to get the inners of the circle. Per looked around the room. Imagine that the floor is a giant orange slice that I've cut and stretched out. Halfway around is the same as the long side of the rectangle. So I need to measure the distance around the half the tower. Per's boot was the same length as a square stone tile. She counted off 22 steps around the top half of the room. I also have to measure the distance from the edge of the room to its center, said Per. That will be like the short side of the rectangle. She stepped off 7 squares. Radius multiplied the 2 measurements. 22 times 7 equals 154, he said. Well, that's not enough, replied Per. We need to find a room with 200 floor squares. So let's keep looking. What about the sea serpent? Asked Radius. They cautiously opened the door. Everything was quiet. Let's go, said Per. Together they scrambled up a ladder and ran across a high walkway. Down below, the sea serpent erupted out of the water. Reaching up to grab them, it crashed into the stones. The walkway collapsed into the sea just as Radius and Per entered a second tower. That was a close call, said Per, catching her breath. They climbed up a spiral staircase. At the top, Per and Radius found themselves in a bell tower. I don't think the sea serpent can reach us up here, said Per. Let's hope not, answered Radius, peering over the edge. Immediately, Per counted off 25 boot lengths around half the edge of the room. She then counted another 8 steps from the edge to the floor's center. 25 times 8 equals 200 squares, she said. This is the place. Now what do we do? Look, said Radius, pointing to the words on the ceiling. The squares in the circle are the secret's key. Use the number to signal to the sea. This bell could be the signal, said Per, pulling on the rope. Radius covered his ears and counted as Per rang it 200 times. After the last peal, the ocean began churning and foaming. The monster rose up from the depths and faced Per. She stood before it, trying not to tremble. The creature's jaws opened, and Per could see rows of gleaming teeth. Out of its mouth dropped a jeweled locket. Per caught it. Inside was a note. The Isle of Immeter is yours to keep. The palm set will protect you awake or asleep. The note was signed by the Countess Ariana. Are you the Pomposset? Per asked the creature. The sea serpent snorted and bowed before her. Radius and Per returned to the mainland riding on the Pomposset. Cumference and Lady Di spotted them from the castle and rushed down to greet them. Mercy upon us, they exclaimed. You're riding on a sea serpent. We've had an amazing adventure, said Per. Tell us all about it, said her uncle and aunt. We unlocked the secret of the castle, said Radius. Per is now the rightful owner of the Isle of Immeter. We had to find a round tower room that contained exactly 200 floor squares, added Per. We discovered that if you multiply the distance halfway around a circle by the distance from its edge to the center, you'll know how many squares could fit inside it. Cumference smiled. So 1/2 of the circumference times the radius equals the inside of the circle. Wonderful! The next day, Circumference and Lady Di held a special celebration for Purr. People from miles around attended. On behalf of the Countess Ariana, I pronounce you Lady Purr of Immeter, said Circumference. This adventure has taken you full circle. Purr curtsied. Thank you, she said. I'm really good now at counting edges. Circumference laughed. So you are. For this reason, the outside edge of any flat, straight-sided shape shall be called the perimeter, after you. What shall we call the inside of these shapes? Asked Lady Di. Let's call it area, suggested Purr, in honor of Countess Ariana and her amazing floors. And everyone burst into a round of applause. The end. I hope you guys like this one. Like I said, we'll do a few more later on each week. We'll do another one on Wednesdays. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. If I haven't heard from you, please check in. I miss your faces. I'll see you guys later. Bye.